We up? All right. Good evening, everybody. David Paul with you here in the KHOU 11 Weather Center. Wanted to step in and give you guys a complete update on the storm, Tropical Storm Barry, who has struggled to intensify today. Barry is still a minimal tropical storm. Winds are at 45 miles an hour. You've got to get up to 74 miles an hour to make it a Cat 1 hurricane. And now the Hurricane Center is thinking that it won't make it all the way to Cat 1 hurricane strength. That's another piece of good news that came out of today. It's been very slow to intensify, and now it looks like the intensity at landfall will only be strong tropical storm, maybe a Cat 1 hurricane, maybe just for a moment. Somewhere here on the Louisiana coast, 7 a.m. Saturday morning. That is the time when it looks like we will have a forecast, we'll actually have a landfall of our tropical storm Barry. You can see that the Houston area, we are not involved in the forecast cone. That being said, here's what you need to know about the forecast cone. Over the past couple of decades or so that the Hurricane Center has been using a forecast cone, statistically, the storm stays within the path of that orange area, the forecast cone, about 66% of the time. The other 33% of the time, the cone has to be adjusted because the storm ends up going outside the cone, either to the east or the west. So no forecast, especially a hurricane forecast, is set in stone. Oh, yes, okay. So no forecast is set in stone, and I would urge you to stay abreast of the forecast with us as we'll keep giving you these updates. Also, if you're having audio problems, it's not on our end, it's on Facebook's end. And what we recommend you do is restart the application, restart Facebook, close it out and reopen it. And that apparently has been solving the audio issues with our Facebook Live broadcast. So if you're watching us on Facebook, close the app, open it back up. The audio should come back up just fine. There's not a problem here on our end. It has to do with the way the application Facebook is working right now. So once again, we're not in the cone. Here's Houston, Galveston. We're good. The cone is taking the storm to Louisiana. However, I urge everybody to stay very close to the forecast. This is because the storm doesn't always stay right in that forecast cone. No forecast cone of any type is perfect. So stay close to the forecast. The best way to do that is with the KHOU 11 app. Turn on notifications so you'll get all the updates. Stay prepared for this one or the next one. We're only in the very beginning of hurricane season. So what is moving this storm around? Oh, and by the way, our producer Molly is sitting off to the side. Hi, Molly.
Hi.
And she's going to be taking some questions from you live here in just a couple of minutes. So write your questions. We'd like to see your questions about travel or what to expect. And Molly will be feeding those to me here in just a little bit. Let's continue the storm update. So here's where the storm is now off the coast of Louisiana. And it's caught in between two mountains of air, a mountain of high pressure off to the east and a mountain of high pressure over the Rocky Mountains to the west. Now the storm doesn't want to climb up the mountain, it wants to stay down in the low spot. That's the easy place for it to go. That's the path of least resistance. So it's down in the valley in between the two mountains of air. And this little trough to the north is, well, there's some disagreement. Some models say that, yeah, that is going to grab that storm and pull it north. That's what's pulling it north. Others are saying this trough's not deep enough, and this is just being pushed north by the southern end of this mountain of air, the ridge, building underneath the storm and lifting it north. So the steering currents are very weak right now. They're not moving. They're not very dynamic. But this little trough looks like it's going to be able to grab that storm and pull it north just enough to send it into the Louisiana coast instead of further west into the Texas coast. And that's why the Hurricane Center forecast takes it in Louisiana for now. You can see how small a dot this is on the map. This is just North America and Central America. You can see how close this really is geographically to Houston and Texas, so it's something that we need to keep our eye on very carefully. But again, it's looking like Louisiana is where the storm is going to go. As we look at it on satellite and radar, you can clearly see a broad counterclockwise rotation. These storms spin counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. But it's interesting, the center of the storm has remained exposed. The center is right here. It's not underneath these clouds. We would need to see that storm get underneath the clouds and see some deep convection to convince me that the storm is strengthening rapidly, and that's not happening. In fact, it looks like the center to me has spun out from underneath this little cloud deck and is now sitting right here. That's what it looks like to me. That's either a low-level center or a vortex. Either way, this is a disorganized storm that is struggling to get its act together. Now, it did send some rain our way. We had a couple of scattered thunderstorms near Baytown and Galveston and the west side of the bay this afternoon, and this evening it continues to drizzle here at Galveston, Lamar, Texas City, up to about the Med Center. There's some light drizzle there as well. And from time to time, this is going to send little waves of energy. And in fact, we can see the next wave out here coming. It's between Baton Rouge and Lake Charles, a little, if you would, a feeder band of energy wrapping into the circulation. But that will sweep in our direction and probably tomorrow morning give us a few scattered showers in the morning. So we'll have rain chances kind of off and on for the next several days. Here's what to expect here in Houston. Scattered storms, a few of them tonight and a few tomorrow. From time to time, some of them could be strong. In fact, we had a severe thunderstorm earlier this afternoon for the Bolivar Peninsula, Crystal Beach. And otherwise hot. With a light northeast breeze, we're feeling the circulation around the storm, and it's giving us a little northeast breeze. Now, more in particular to what's going to happen in New Orleans. These are storm surge watches and warnings. As these tropical systems approach the coast, they, with their wind, can just pile the water up, push the water up against the coastline and up into the rivers and bays. And in this case, it can push some of the water up into Lake Pontchartrain, although they try to control that as best they can. But that is what storm surge is, a rise in the sea level as a tropical system approaches. Now, this is going to be an interesting one because here's what the wind field is forecast to look like on Friday at 6 in the evening, the center of the storm just south of the Louisiana coast. But the wind direction blowing east to west right across Lake Pontchartrain. Now that's important because if those winds are strong enough and are sustained long enough, they can push the water, literally have the water pile up on the western side of Lake Pontchartrain. It's like a bathtub, and you know, if it sloshes and it gets high on one side, well, pretty quickly it'll slosh back and get high on the other side. So if this plays out and we get a buildup of water on the west side of Lake Pontchartrain as we go through then into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, as the winds shift and are more out of the south going into Saturday, that could allow that buildup of water on the west side of Lake Pontchartrain to slosh back toward New Orleans. And that's the type of situation that could put extra pressure on the levee system in New Orleans. So this is going to be an interesting test of the levee system. Now, this is not a Katrina. At the moment, not forecast to be nearly as strong. This would be a strong tropical storm. Katrina was Cat 2, Cat 3. So we're not looking at nearly as strong a wind field, but the extra player in this is that the Mississippi River, due to snow melt and spring rain, is going to be cresting at near 19 feet, they believe, as we head into Saturday. And so that combined with the wind and the Lake Pontchartrain situation, the levee system will be tested in New Orleans, and we have crews there, and we're monitoring that situation for you. I know we have a lot of folks with friends, family, business interests in New Orleans. Sunday morning, still a south breeze across the area as the storm lifts north. Now, for we here in Houston, here's our extended forecast. 94 on Friday with a 30% chance for a scattered thunderstorm. Got a 40% chance for a scattered thundershower off and on Saturday, off and on Sunday, 40% chance. And then we'll go back to mid-90s and just a 20% chance for a scattered shower. We'll go back to our regularly scheduled weather for July with mid-90s and hot and muggy and humid stuff. So that's the way it looks with the storm situation right now. Molly, I know folks out there have questions. We have answers usually.
Sure.
Is your mic on? Just real quick.
Yes, it is.
Oh, good.
So a couple questions. I think you just answered this one, but just to reiterate,
yeah.
Sheila, Megan, and Chris all are asking, are we going to get rain from this storm?
Sheila, Megan, and Chris, that's a great question. We are going to get scattered thunderstorms from this storm, but we're not going to get the heavy flooding widespread rains that they'll get near the center of the storm in Louisiana.
Okay, two people also asked this. Carolyn and Gordon want to know what's happening in New Orleans tonight.
Hey Carolyn, hey Gordon. Tonight it's just breezy and warm. Here's New Orleans, here's the live radar. They're quiet. In fact, they're getting a north breeze out of the northeast right now. We're going to have a live shot from there at 10 o'clock. I believe Brett's still in there.
Yes.
So you'll see it live on KHOU 11 News at 10. Brett's there. He'll give a report. But as the whole system itself gets closer to New Orleans as we head into tomorrow, we expect conditions there to go downhill quickly as we head through tomorrow. Here's the big picture with the storm brewing offshore.
Awesome. We've got plenty of questions. So Stacy wants to know, is there another hurricane brewing behind this?
Stacy, so you may have seen the Hurricane Center tropical outlook. There is a little spot way out in the open Atlantic, closer to Africa than it is to the Lesser Antilles. That one has a less than 20% chance of developing. Global models don't develop it. So the short answer to that question is no, not at the moment. Good question.
Okay, this is from a lot of people, surprisingly still. Bonita, Lauren, Jamie, and Kyle all want to know, is it still possible for the storm to turn to us, even though there are, I think, 2 models, they say, that still take it into Houston?
Bonita, Norman.
Bonita, Lauren, Jamie, and Kyle.
Jamie and Kyle.
Yeah.
I transposed those.
That's okay, lots of people.
That's a great question because so there's one model in particular that I've seen on Twitter, and I've been answering some of the questions on Twitter. It's the UK Met. And it is still suggesting that the storm could track over into Texas. And in fact, I don't have the spaghetti plots up here, but the spaghetti plots are still spread from the Louisiana-Texas border all the way over to New Orleans. However, and I've watched this for 25 years of forecasting the tropics, the folks at the Hurricane Center who make these forecast cones, they see that UK Met model. They see it. I see it. We all see it. We see all the rest of the computer models. And the folks at the Hurricane Center, this is all they do, is try to figure out, looking at all the models, weighing all the different scenarios, where is this storm going to go? That's their job. That's what they do 24/7. So they are the real experts. And so when they put out a forecast cone, I put a lot of weight and credibility into what they do at the Hurricane Center. And they, at the moment, are saying, nope, the most likely scenario is right into the central Louisiana coast, right near Vermilion Bay. And again, as I mentioned, 66% of the time, statistically, the storm will stay in that cone. But even the Hurricane Center, they know this. We work within the realm of uncertainty. 33% of the time, the storm, their forecast cone is wrong. And it goes to the west or east or north or south, depending on orientation. So it's not set in stone that it's going to stay in that cone. But we've had forecast run after forecast run coming out of the Hurricane Center, and they continue to use their expertise and say, nope, it's going to Louisiana. All that being said, that's why I continue to show this. Stay close to the forecast. Until that thing is inland, you're not out of the woods. Stay prepared for the next storm. If you prepared for this one and it misses us, good. I've got a pantry full of Chef Boyardee SpaghettiOs with Pop Tops, and I will celebrate by eating a couple of them if this one passes by without bugging us.
That's awesome. So here's some, we've got a lot about people driving through Louisiana.
Yeah.
Joe says he's driving through tomorrow. What can he expect? We got another one from Maria saying, my granddaughter's going to Jacksonville this weekend. When should she leave?
Not on Friday or Saturday. I'm going to see if I can pull up a rain forecast. Here we go. So this will give you a little bit of a timeline here, but in general, any travel, I-10 starting tomorrow. So here's 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Again, this is just a computer model. It thinks most of the rain's going to be offshore, and that may very well be the case. However, a little bit of daytime heating close to a tropical system, daytime heating in the land inland. Now watch what happens as we head into the afternoon. Here we go into 9, here we are by 1 o'clock. So we could be seeing some very heavy bands of rain from Lafayette, Baton Rouge to New Orleans by 1 o'clock on Friday. And then after that, the forecast is just solid rain Friday afternoon, Friday night. Here we go into Saturday. Here's 7 a.m. Saturday. Still heavy rain as the center approaches the coast Saturday morning. You do not want to be on I-10 on Saturday if you can at all avoid it. If you have to make the trip, don't take I-10 down to New Orleans. Take 12 to the north through Hammond. That's the way to go. And keep on going. And don't plan on stopping in New Orleans because they don't deal with heavy rain well on a normal summer afternoon, let alone a landfalling tropical storm. Try to get at least to Slidell, better yet, get into Mississippi, get to Biloxi at least, and make that a stopping point. Try to plan your fuel consumption so you can just blow right on past New Orleans, and hopefully they'll be okay. I hope that answers your question. Friday afternoon through all day Saturday, wind and rain, and then probably Sunday morning doesn't look very pretty either.
So just a side comment, Cajun Kathy says she wants to see you eat your Chef Boyardee on the air. So that would be funny.
I will do that.
We got one from Dar saying, will this bring any cooler weather our way?
It's bringing in a little bit, not much. Not much. I mean, we're going to get a north breeze, but it's the middle of summer, so it's not going to cool. Darth?
Dar, D-A-R.
Dar. That's a great question. No, not really. There's no cooler air to the north, so it won't cool us off except for a north breeze and a few scattered thunderstorms.
So this is a question. I'm going to combine two of these. A couple people asking about if they're going to be able to enjoy Galveston this weekend, and then there's also questions about storm surge and rip currents and all that kind of stuff sub from the storm. Anytime
you drop a drop a pebble into a pond, it sends ripples out. So that's what we've got going on with this storm. Think of it as, I'm going to back up to the satellite. Think of it as a pebble that has been dropped into a pond. And this is a big pebble, and it's going to send out some pretty good ripples. So here's the center of the storm. Even though Houston, Galveston, and in fact, so a lot of my family's on Galveston right now, and they were saying today there was almost no wind. There was almost the ocean was almost completely flat. That happens because we have this north breeze around this broader circulation. So the bottom line is the beaches will see a north breeze, light winds, but there will still be a swell coming in as we head into Friday and Saturday from that storm. So you'll have waves building. It's actually good for surfers. They like this. For beachgoers, there will be passing thunderstorms. I don't think the beach is a washout. As long as the forecast holds, I would go ahead and go down to Galveston and have a good time. But I would watch for any type of rip current activity. And the best thing to do is swim near lifeguard stands and stay away from jetties and just watch your family and those little kids like a hawk. Don't let them go in over their knees. And even then, do not take your eye off of them. And I think the beach will be pretty good, but you may have to dodge some scattered thunderstorms. I hope that was a long answer to that question.
It was like three questions piled into one. A lot of these are on travel. So Jennifer wants to know if any flights will be impacted in the next couple days. Mm-hmm. Annie says, my daughters are supposed to return on a cruise and dock Saturday in Galveston. Will they be okay? And Yvonne wants to know, if I leave on a cruise Sunday out of New Orleans, what does that look like? So you've got a bunch of travel related.
The cruise questions are interesting. So the cruise companies will do anything to keep that schedule. So they really want to keep the schedule. The seas offshore are forecast to be anywhere from 5 to 10 feet on Friday and Saturday. So that's a bumpy ride on a cruise ship. I'm pretty sure they could go through seas like that, but you better have your Dramamine because that will be bumpy. And they also may have to take a longer route. They may need to go out and around the system to stay away from it. I don't know the inner workings of, they have their own professional meteorologists that all they're doing is looking at wave and sea forecasts and currents. And so if they can at all get out on time, they will, but I would stay very close to your cruise carrier. The cruise question and the travel question, the airports. I would expect that anything coming in and out of the New Orleans airport will be delayed Friday and Saturday, especially Friday afternoon and Saturday. So if you've got a flight, coming from, say, Miami to New Orleans to Houston, it may be delayed trying to get into Houston because it has to stop in New Orleans. But a tropical storm, a lot of times it's amazing. These airports stay open and they run even in conditions you wouldn't think they could. So I would expect there would be a window of time where they may have to shut down operations there Saturday during the first half of the day. So I'd expect there would be delays for anything coming in and out of New Orleans.
Okay, another question, a couple people have asked this. When is Barry going to take a turn north? Or when is that going to happen? What is the timing of that?
Let's take a look at the forecast from the Hurricane Center. Actually, this will help answer that. So this is where the storm is right now. It's moving west at 3 miles an hour. So it's basically stationary. It's just kind of stuck in between these two mountains of high pressure. That little trough's going to help to give it a jog to the north, and that begins tomorrow. So in the morning, it's expected to begin to move more northwesterly, have a little northerly component to its motion, and then continue north-northwest going into Saturday as it makes landfall Saturday morning. So the answer to that question, when will it make that turn? Into the morning hours, tomorrow morning, we should begin to see that turn to the northwest with a northerly component. Cheetah's on the air at 4:30. She'll have the update. That should be a very interesting morning tomorrow morning to watch H-Town Rush.
Okay, I'm kind of running out of questions. I got 2 last ones. Pedro just wants a shout out.
Who does?
Pedro. Say hi to Pedro.
Pedro.
Hi, Pedro.
Shout out to you.
And then Scout says, what about my hair? I think we all know that it's going to be hot and hotter. Yes. And then basically, let's end this. People are asking for a recap, a real quick recap of what you've just been talking about.
First of all, it's a ponytail weekend. That's the hair. It's humid, it's windy with scattered storms. And then I'm going to go through everything again right now for everybody who's joined us. Good evening, everybody. So here's where the storm is now, right there, about 90 miles southeast of the mouth of the Mississippi River. Max winds are at 45. It has not been able to intensify much at all today. It's still rather disorganized. It's basically drifting west at 3 miles an hour. Minimum pressure is 1,001 millibars. That has come down. It's an indication that it's trying to get organized. Forecast cone from the Hurricane Center takes this into the coast of Louisiana Saturday morning. Here's Houston, Galveston, southeast Texas. We are not in the cone. I do not like seeing us anywhere near a forecast cone like this, so it still makes me nervous. And as I was saying earlier, these forecast cones from the Hurricane Center, they're the best people on the planet to forecast hurricanes. And even they know that the storm only stays in that cone 66% of the time, looking back at history. 33% of the time, it ends up to the east or the west of the cone. So we have to keep monitoring the forecast carefully. I urge you to do that in case there's an unexpected change. And then if you're prepared for this one, now you're prepared for the next one. That's the way to be, so you don't have to get out in a rush when one is coming. What's moving the storm? Here it is right now, and it's in between two big mountains of high pressure. Those are mountains of air in the atmosphere, and the storm doesn't want to go up the mountain. It wants to stay down in that valley. That's the easy spot. So it's down here in the valley in between the two. And in fact, an even deeper portion of the valley is to the north. That's a trough of low pressure, a trough, a valley. Well, this wants to flow into that trough, like water flowing down a stream. And so that's one of the things that is trying to influence a northerly pull of the storm. It's actually having very little influence on it. We think it's helping the models to think it's going to go north, and it is going to pull it a little bit north, and that's what's helping to pull it north before it gets into Houston, Galveston. And that's why the system is moving into Louisiana. Here's the big picture. You can see the broad circulation around Barry, a tropical storm. But the center appears to be exposed, and to me it almost looks like that's the center. See it kind of tumbling out right there? When I say it's exposed, that means it's not underneath these clouds. It's not underneath convection. That will slow down its development. And because of this, that's why the forecast from the Hurricane Center's intensity models have dropped it down to making it a tropical storm at landfall on Saturday instead of a hurricane. And that's very important because that will have major reduced threat to the New Orleans area. We're getting scattered showers. We had a few earlier today. They're now fizzling out. You can see another band, a feeder band of thunderstorms between Baton Rouge and Lake Charles on I-10. That's sweeping our way. And from time to time, we'll have these sweep into Houston, Galveston. So I've got rain chances off and on for the next several days. Scattered storms tonight and a few tomorrow as well. Some could be strong. Otherwise, hot with a light northeast breeze. If you're in Tomball or Hempstead, Cypress, up to Conroe, you may get no rain at all. It'll just be hot and breezy. But from downtown to Baytown to Galveston, much better chance for scattered thunderstorms off and on the next couple of days. In New Orleans, it's storm surge that I think they will have a threat from. That's the onshore flow as the storm approaches. And I'm going to be watching this very, very carefully. This will be the wind field Friday evening, east to west across Lake Pontchartrain. That may push the water, pile it up on the west side of Lake Pontchartrain. That's what it looks like Friday, 6 p.m., piling the water up on the west side. And then what eventually happens is that water sloshes back. And if it sloshes back strong enough, it could be one of the factors that puts more pressure on the levee system in the New Orleans area. And so it's just one more factor that they're worried about and we're watching. And we've got a crew live in New Orleans where the weather is quiet tonight in New Orleans. But we'll have a live report there from Brett Buffington on the KHOU 11 News at 10. Here's the way this plays out. Friday, scattered showers begin in the afternoon. It rains all Friday evening, Friday night. It rains heavily off and on Saturday with wind and rain all day Saturday. Do not travel through Louisiana on I-10 on Saturday if you can avoid it. Even by Saturday night, you know, there's the tropical storm near Alexandria with heavy rain expected across the state. And our 7-day outlook here, we've got scattered showers Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 30 to 40%. Low 90s, breezy and hot in between the scattered showers, and then back to normal summertime programming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. Any more good ones, or are we good? thank you for spending some time with us. It's nice to be able to update you guys this way. Great questions. And we're going to do more questions and answers on KHOU 11 News at 10 o'clock on the TV side. We'll also have a fresh update from the Hurricane Center right at 10 o'clock. I'll have that for you off the top of the 10 o'clock news. So sit on the couch, pull out the remote control, and join us on the news at 10 o'clock. We'll see you then.